Thank you for staying with us on AM 120. We are looking at the invasion of the Oyo Government Secretariat that happened on Saturday by those who describe themselves as Yoruba Nation agitators. Well, our next guest this morning is a public analyst, social commentator, Mr. Adesumbo Badijoko. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning.
Good
morning, our viewers. Thank you for having me.
Yes. To be honest, this is not the first time we are hearing agitations for they call it self-determination of the Yoruba Nation by some individuals. At some point in time, a radio station was also invaded. That was also curtailed. That was about last year. We've been hearing pockets of these concerns, but all of a sudden we are hearing that a place as important as the Secretariat, right here in Ibadan, was invaded with arms and charms, and they were wearing camouflage. They even engaged security operatives in a shootout. When you hear that, what conclusions do you draw?
That we need to be very careful, and that we need to start dimming our searchlight and attention to certain things that we've been ignoring. And among that is the idea of what to do a republic, Yoruba agitation, and all of that. We've actually been taking it for granted, holding on to the fact that when it comes to the Southwest, and the whole of the country is the most sophisticated, the most civilized, where you have the most cosmopolitan when it comes to setting. And even the terrain and the settlement pattern is well arranged. We have fewer ungoverned spaces within the Southwest compared to other places. And so that has given us this kind of respite that, it could be happening in other places. It may not happen here. Now we have this. So it's coming as a surprise to a lot of people, but and where most people were kind of showing concern is the violent dimension. You understand? Happening within ourselves. The last thing that we had that is very close to that has to do with headers crisis. That one we are dealing with another ethnic group of people who we see as invaders within the territory. But now, it's not a case of strangers or foreigners, so to speak. Yoruba people coming, taking up arms, wanting to take over government. That is where the concern is coming from. And some people have asked me, why would they come to Secretariat? Why not Lagos? I said, Ibadan is the regional capital. I use the word is because it's still the rallying point. Anything is going to happen politically. You see Southwest governors, when they are going to have their meeting, they gather here.
Okay. Ibadan being that rallying point is what we'll pick up on in just a moment. We'll take a break.
Imagine lovely meals you can cook with these ingredients. You spend heavily, but no guarantee of a tasty meal. Not making a right choice of seasoning cube can ruin your meal, money, and confidence. For a tasty meal, do not compromise. Choose gold.
Use Terra Gold for the rich, consistent taste your restaurant craves for. Good for soups, stews, and jollof. Terra Gold. One cube and responsibilities.
Thank you for staying with us on AM 120. We are talking about the invasion of the Oyo Government Secretariat that happened on Saturday with our guest, Mr. Adesumbo Badijoko. Thank you so much for being here. You were talking about why Ibadan. Please go on.
That's the regional capital, and you see anytime Southwest agenda is to be fronted, or there's going to be a debate or discussion or a conference that has to do with the entirety of the region, Ibadan has always been the venue. This was where Awolowo governed, this was where Akintola governed, and before the proliferation of states, we had political activity always taking place in Ibadan. So, and that's why they have chosen that place as the place to stage the attack. It's not a direct attack on Governor Makinde, no. It's just that he happens to be the governor whose state is housing or accommodating the regional capital that has not been separated. You know, if you go back memory lane, it's the only regional capital that is still within, that is not standing alone. Kaduna is now a state, Enugu is now a state, but Ibadan is still in Oyo State, so to speak. So that's the reason why the attack took place there, not in Abeokuta, Oshogbo, or somewhere else. So that's the reason. So, when you look at all of this, that have been built up all over the country. You had Boko Haram, beginning with an ideology, is now taking, graduated to the level of taking over territories, hosting flags in the northeast. We switched over to south when we had the Niger Delta militancy, men and what have you. They were destroying government installations and, of course, national assets. They were making agitation, and they were, speaking in respect of a particular region. Masop, metamorphosed to hip-hop, and we know what hip-hop has also been doing in the southeast. In the north central here, we may not have a kind of sectarial agitation, but it's also not a peaceful region. And of course, we know what the bandits are doing in the northwest, though they are not coming out with any clear-cut agenda. And that's why whenever they see the word bandits, are not comfortable with it. Call them terrorists that they are. Now, Southwest seems to be enjoying relative peace when it comes to sectarian agitation in a violent dimension. Is having a share of his own. When the attack on the FRCN station at Mamiya happened, I expect security to have been beefed up, intelligence to have been deployed, sensitive gathering to have been monitored. It's like that wasn't done, and that's why we had the last one on Saturday. And it was strategic. They looked for a day that is not a work. They couldn't have gone there on a working day. The crowd would have exposed them early enough. But they went on a Saturday when they know that axis is usually very quiet, except there's an event somewhere close by around the Total Garden. That axis is usually not having any more of heavy presence of movement of vehicle, even person. So it's strategic. So that's the reason why they achieved that level of success, if I may use that word, at that event. They couldn't have happened. One major event, one major attempt at taking over government like that is going to take place. The planners would consider, they look at the calendar, look at the events happening all over. They will always look for one that will be a camouflage. Example, in 1966, when the first military coup took place, they calculated a time when the government was hosting the Commonwealth head of government. And that was the distraction they needed to be able to implement their plans. They will always look for what will distract the attention of people before they implement the plan.
Now, with the look of things, are you saying that these people should not be underrated?
You can't underrate anybody because they have diaspora support. And that is funding, if you want to analyze that critically. Those who have been their spokespersons now have been speaking from outside of the country. That means there are people, individuals or groups outside of these shops pumping in money, supplying them with resources they needed. Yes, they are carrying guns now. If it is not nipped in the bud at this moment, before you know what is happening, they will be wielding AK-47.
The pump action rifles
the pump action is still less sophisticated a weapon when it compared to an AK-47 that the others are already having. So that's why I said we need to be very careful, and that one is even more expensive. The used one is more than $500,000 in cost.
we should be asking, they went to hoist their flag. The strategy behind doing that, the significance of doing that, is not lost on anybody, is it?
It's not. No, definitely.
Of all places.
When you hoist your flag at a seat of power, you are indirectly saying you are now in charge. In warfare, in conventional warfare, once the capital is taken, the war is over. that's the situation. And once the victorious side holds the flag at the seat of power, let me go historically again. Between 1870 and 71, there was a war between France and Prussia, which is a region in the present-day Germany. The war went in favor of Prussia, and they took the French capital, arrested the emperor, and they did the declaration for the unification of Germany in the palace of the emperor of France. It's a form of registering your victory, that yes, you are now in charge, and you can decide what happens, the fate of the losing side. So that's the idea behind hosting the flag at the Secretariat, that there's a new government in charge. That is what they are trying to pass across. Forgetting that they do not have the numbers that could have.
Because I'm wondering how they expected to get away after doing that.
These are people who are ignorant of so many things. I looked at them.
Including a 75-year-old man.
Yeah, what is his academic background? For instance, how much information does he have about operations like that? In the real sense of it. There's a difference between theory and practice. You may have a very theoretical, a good plan in theory, but at the point of implementation, if there is sudden development that you fail to factor in when you are making the plan is automatically going to be void. And especially in a warfare, it will cost life and resources. You understand? I don't want to be sounding too historical this morning, but that's why I said the people are not well read. When the First World War was to happen, Germany had a plan, they call it the Schlieffen plan, to attack France, to enter France through Belgium. In their planning, they felt Belgium is a small state, they will not show much resistance, so they quickly go in there, they will open their borders for them, they will enter through the back, seize the French capital, and they declare victory. So what happened? When they got to the mother town of Liege in Belgium, they met the kind of resistance they never anticipated, and that took them time. And the idea was France and Russia, they were two neighbors, just like Nigeria fighting with Cameroon, and Benin Republic at the same time. And we look at Benin, very small country, let's quickly attack Benin through Badagry, and then we have time to face Cameroon, which is bigger. Unfortunately, we met resistance at Badagry that took a lot of time, and before we know what was happening, Cameroon had reinforced. So that's the situation, because they did not factor in so many things. So that thing you did not factor into your planning could destroy the plan. So these are things that they are not strategic enough, and that has to do with their level of intelligence and training. And that shows that they are mediocre. Because they are ignorant of so many things. And it's rather unfortunate. And you can only have that kind of people keying into your agenda in this kind of... Nobody can invite me for such.
Doesn't that lack of understanding and knowledge make them even more dangerous?
No.
Easier to use.
They will still be defeated, because they may have the numbers, but they may not have the strategy. When it comes to strategy, it's superior, that is your intelligence of the other person, and of course superior weaponry. That they do not have, and there's no way they could, even if they have about 200. One, coming in broad daylight with that kind of mass, people would know. Mobilization will take place. This is Ibadan, where you have, not too far from that site, is the Letmore Barracks. There are soldiers there, you understand? Not too far away is the Yoruba Barracks. You have an Air Force detachment here that can call for reinforcements from Lagos at any point. So these are things that they did not factor into their planning. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So these are things that I'm talking about. And for them to have come out like that shows their level of ignorance. You understand? And EU preparation. These are things that we are talking about. But they have made an attempt. They've registered an impression which we should not take for granted. As the people within the region, even the government at the national level. So if we have been looking at them that these are they're just attention seekers, well, they are no longer attention seekers. They are telling us that they mean business. Before they begin to gather more strength, holding on to the fact that there's inflation in the land, people are hungry, people are hungry, they will do anything to survive. And don't forget, human life is as cheap as 5,000 naira. Just go to those communities that I don't want to mention. When they hail you, yeah, come, I have a job for you. That will cost you this amount. Give them some sachet of that liquor. They will praise you and say, what else? Don't worry, there's more. That is how those who do kidnapping recruit people. Give them a offer that they can order that will be so attractive to them. They will jump at it. So that is the situation all over the country, and of course, it's not peculiar to the Southwest, but you have that on ground, and that's where government now needs to be taking certain things serious.
Now, people are talking about the level of our intelligence, I mean the security intelligence, that the invaders shouldn't have gone thus far, I mean, before being encountered.
Well, I told you that the day they choose, the timing, the distraction, all those worked in their favor.
But
there's a failure of intelligence because there had been an attempt, an earlier one, that would have made those people to take them seriously. For instance, all public schools, which are potential training grounds, should have been placed under surveillance. All event centers, which are potential awareness venues, should have been placed under surveillance. So know, contact the owners, get the outline of event they have within the month, which organization, which family, which people are coming to gather there, and what are they coming to do. Should have been placed under surveillance to monitor. But that has not been done, obviously, because if that had been done, at the point of planning, they would have put an end to it. They would have quenched the fire even before ignition. But this happened. Perhaps they will now begin to do that. Community Development Association needs to be contacted if they have an hall within their community. Who are those people coming together there? Even if they are disguising under a particular organization, some may say they are doing religious programs. And when they make the noise after the religious program, you think they have dispersed the crowd. The real people will now come and you need to monitor everything now, and you have to do that in collaboration with those people I've mentioned. Otherwise, we will have a bigger one that will cut off on our way.
What about the installation of closed circuit cameras?
These are things that for instance, a colleague of mine lost his car was stolen, and there was a closed circuit camera. But when the car was to be taken, it was done when there's during the wee hours of the day. The security light was not on at that time. The security personnel said they went to go and pray at the same period. So when all these things, those who would have looked around, do their own surveillance to know the particular position where all these things are mounted and know how to beat them. For instance, those who go to rob banks, are they not aware that there are security cameras in banks? They still go ahead anyway because they have come earlier to look around, do their own, monitor where those things are installed. So it goes beyond having CCTV.
But to detect their movement.
It will detect their movement and even reveal their identity if it's broad daylight, but may not prevent, so to speak, like that. To detect their movement when they are there already. But we are talking about any response, acting on intelligence promptly. That will even prevent them from coming down to the venue. That is what I'm talking about.
But when you think about the kind of comments that we are seeing from the backers and supporters outside the country right now, giving speeches, even threatening the government of the day for, arresting their members and all that. We think about freedom of speech. We think about human rights now and wonder where does one start, where does one stop. They say they have the right to speak up and declare, for self-determination or the Oduwa Republic. That's on one hand. But on the other hand, we are looking at the whole picture of human rights, and how free a person should be in what they want.
I was laughing when you were mentioning human rights. Elementary government will tell them that human rights have limitations. There's a point where that right ends. Once you cross that boundary, you have lost the right.
So
what they are doing now is not human rights.
That they can say whatever they want to say and declare outside the country.
In the country and hide under the guise of human rights, and let's see whether they would not be arrested. This goes to those who are out there. You cannot stay out of the fence and be throwing stones at those of us within the compound. You are not helping us. You are not winning us to your side. You are making us to be angry at you. And even when you get hold of you, we will deal with you the way you do not expect. We should be more civilized in whatever we are doing. Those people are not civilized. Especially, the Abiola widow is a huge disappointment and a disgrace to both families, both our husband's family and our own family, because our family in Lagos is not an ordinary one too. You understand? And, though adults have the right to do whatever they like, once you are 18, anything you do, I believe you should take responsibility for it once you are adult. So, she should be ready to face the consequence of whatever she has done now. And she should move. And we don't learn from history. I'll give you so many historical examples. Nnamdi Kanu was arrested in Kenya in a Gestapo manner, in a manner he never expected it could be taken. He thought outside of the country he was safe. And he's been incarcerated for years now. All these people are gathering a political solution, this and that. But the government is saying, well, it's already in court. The court will determine fate. You don't have to allow your own case to be like that. So you need to be very careful. We have an NIA as a Nigerian state that is already aware of where you are, and they are just looking at you. That is one thing they are ignorant of. Why is America so powerful? It's because of the CIA. The CIA is everywhere. As you're planning, you don't even know the gadget equipment that is around you. Muammar Gaddafi, as powerful as he was as an head of state, saw his picture of himself in the bedroom. How was that taken? And Nigeria has that capacity, at least to a certain extent too, as a state. So you don't forget the corruption and what is going on. The government has facilities in place to do certain things if they are ready to do it. And that's why most of the domestic crises that we're having are political in nature. You understand? It's political consideration that is always holding on the government from really attacking. And of course from economic benefit that from people in charge, like the banditry and insurgency, for instance. If it is not the economic benefit that the military echelon are getting, they would have dealt with it. So, there are always reasons, not that you now, because that is happening, think that the state is weak enough for anybody to just gather somewhere and host flags. That is a very wrong perception.
It's already look like you're a Yoruba man. These people say they are fighting for...
They are not fighting for me. That's where you are going.
I'm going there. I am going there because they say they are fighting for the Yoruba people. And I also do, I'm also very much aware that, there has been this talk about, self-determination for Yoruba people, Oyo Nation, coming from Professor Bandia Akintoye, coming from Ibuho and the likes in the last couple of years now. So much so that the Yoruba Nation got into the United Nations Unrepresented Nations and People's Organization, UNPO, as the 45th nation. I'm just wondering whether or not, in your own opinion, you feel that drive and desire to get the Yoruba Nation into that particular organization also tallies with some of the things they are saying now? And for you, does it resonate with you as a Yoruba man?
Now, let me start on this note. If we achieve a Yoruba Nation today, it is to my advantage. Why? I will be an automatic member of the elite of the Yoruba Nation. So, of course, I know I will benefit from it. If you're going to benefit from something, you will support it. The problem is the approach. That is wrong. You understand? Yoruba has been a nation before Nigeria. It's not a new thing. And the colonial masters factored that into their style of colonialism. That was why they could only use indirect rule here. They're making use of our existing traditional system. It was independence and, of course, the crop of leaders that we had after military incursion in government that relegated our traditional institutions to the level that even a local government chairman is superior to the other. And that is where the origin of our problem is. As a people, we are now using foreign ideas to determine our fate as a people. We have our own ideas that we stand for. And things will not go right until we go back to those things. Now, as a nation, if at all we are going to achieve that, Yoruba people, I told you, most sophisticated, most civilized. Intellectual discourse is what will pass it, not violence. Because even violence at the head, you still go back to negotiation table after you have signed a truce. So why not negotiate from the beginning? There's no war that will not end up in negotiation that they refuse to do when they are starting the war. And every war has always been fought on egocentric, for egocentric reason on behalf of those who are pushers, the warmongers. These people speaking from all over are known as, they are warmongers. Even when the fate of the country is to be decided, they will not be among those that will be invited. Because they are not among the recognized Yoruba leaders that we have. We have leaders and we also have warriors. According to Gani Adams, Gani Adams says, we have a lot of warriors. When he was speaking concerning Sunday Igboho's move the last time, he said, yes, we have a lot of warriors in Yoruba land, and Sunday Igboho is one of them. That's in I'm quoting him now. So we have warriors, we have structures that can metamorphose into an army today if we are granted independence. You understand? For instance, how many Nigerians are aware that the OPC has cells all over the region that could be, that is more or less a police station or a police post where they interrogate criminals and all of that. But they are silent about it and they are operating effectively without distorting anybody. And when those who are aware, he said the man is not doing anything about foreigners coming to him, he said, come. He cannot act against the law. When those in authority ask him to do it, they know what to do. That is to tell you that what? We have people who can make this agitation for us. We have structures on ground that will give us a very good state. We have everything.
The concern with the agitation for some is that it seems like it is, tending towards the balkanization of Nigeria. This issue of self-determination. Is this talk that we should be having at this time?
One thing is leading to, or two things. Bad governance is the main one. And that is born out of corruption.
At this time where we have a Yoruba man as president?
How many months assistantly? You understand? Goodluck Jonathan was VP at the height of the national Niger Delta militancy. He was a Niger Delta man. Doesn't stop anything. Buhari was the president when the bandits started their mess in the northwest. You understand? It's about the things that the government have not been doing. Two main responsibility of any government. This Nigerian government over the years have been security, welfare. That welfare is more elaborate. You can break it down into several pieces. Under it is where you have education, health, standard of living. Tell me, which one is okay in the country? If all these things are in place, nobody will agitate. American election is coming up in November. Go and do an opinion poll today. You will hear people that are not even aware that election is holding. Some are aware, but they are not going to vote. They are not interested in what happens in Washington, D.C. because everything they need in their corner, they have it. If Shaki, everything I need is there. I don't care who is in Agodi or who is in Abuja.
So how does, because of our time, how does what you are saying now tally with what these individuals are asking for? Because earlier on you said they are not speaking for you. But what
they don't know what they want. These are not the people that we should be taking as in that sounds as if they understand what they are saying. If you listen to the declaration of the woman under the law, I have to play it back like 3 times because I couldn't make any sense of it. That is to tell you that these are people who doesn't know what they are doing. You know, we have elders in the land who have been. Those are the ones that made the move that led to the recognition of the Yoruba Nation in the United Nations. We are a nation that predicts independence. We've been existing for long, not just today. So if you want to stand alone, of course there are ways to go about it. Soviet Union broke into 15 countries. Yugoslavia broke into 7 countries. Czechoslovakia has done their different ways. But the global community will look into it. Up till now, we do not have a Palestinian state. Up till now, we do not have a Catalonian state. Western Sahara is a stateless province of Morocco. Amidst all of that, we had a South Sudan, how many years back? Just a few years ago. Eritrea, not too far away from now. So there will be incidents that would lead to heat. When the time is right for that to happen, it will matter. Everything would work in line with that. You understand? But there are issues that are militating against such moves. We have so many foreign interests here. Investments come to interest. They would work against it using the country, their government of their host country. So they are, where do we go? Because the whole state is what they need to advance their business. We are owing a lot of debt. Who will pay the debt if you go a separate ways? All these things will be considered into it. How ready are the respective regions when it comes to independence? And how willing are the others in terms of their willingness to let go? Because if South break away, for instance, the North becomes a landlocked country. And every country needs access to the sea to be able to thrive economically. So all these things are factors militating against this agitation, which those people do not know. So and that's why when it's going to happen eventually, it will be a product of intellectual discourse at the highest level to bat it. But for now, yes, it is in the agenda. But governments at the national level can do certain things that would de-escalate the ideology. Good governance. Let people enjoy the benefit of governance. All rules in local governments are deplorable states. Why should it be so? I said it earlier this morning somewhere else, but as far as I am concerned, we only have 2 governments. Local government does not exist because we know what local government rules are, which nobody is playing as we speak. So those things are what will bring down this kind of agitation.
Let's look at the intervention of our leaders. What should be the role of the leaders in this regard?
The first thing I just made, the only woman among those arrested, said they promised her better life. Better life should come from government. We have a lot of graduates roaming the streets. Why? We have a lot of skilled artisans who could not do anything. They are riding bikes. How much are they making from the bikes they are riding? Some of them are not even happy doing it. You understand? And government is supposed to make an enabling environment. Some are natural farmers. They could not go to farm because they are not secured. All these things are what government should do. Let there be constant power today. That constant power will create jobs because the artisans will no longer ride Okada. He will do what? face is straight. These are things that government should do. Let there be development across board. Agitation will disappear because that is what is fueling it. And that is what the government needs to understand.
I'd like to say thank you to you, Mr. Adesumbo Badijoku, for talking to us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Right now, on Air 120, it's time for sports to stay. Part of AM 120 for today. Join us again on Friday. Have a wonderful day.
Have a nice day. Goodbye.